Because there's so many barriers to entry for immigrants. That's one. Number two, how do coalesce? How do bring people together to create a coalition as an immigrant? And I'm sorry I'm using that, but just because I am one and I never know where to start, I thought I should ask that.
Okay, so I grew up in a family where it's always been about service. Even if it's not the traditional term of service, where you have, organizations and you have the things that I do now, in my time, we always had people in and out of our home. My parents always had people living with us who needed a place to be, a space to live, or just protection from different things. And I joke around that we had like a revolving door. And during all this time, my father is an engineer. He's retired now. My father is an engineer. And growing up in South Florida, there were many difficulties as an immigrant man, an African immigrant man in South Florida back in the 80s, and having the audacity to outbid big organizations to build what they call school portables for the Palm Beach School Board, Palm Beach County School Board, and he was crucified. Every obstacle you can think of was put in his way. And I watched as a child growing up, as a teenager, seeing what my father was going through, what my mother was going through, the struggles they had, the fights they had, but still had the backbone and the strength to fight back on a consistent basis. And despite all that, they still gave up themselves to their community. They still had the heart and the soul to do what they have always done, which was help others. And growing up in that environment, and you saw the strength and the determination that regardless of any obstacle that's in your way, if you're determined that you are going to succeed and in the process help your community, then that's what you do. And over time, I grew up in that. Over time, it built in me. And when I decided to go to law school, it was because I was working in a residential program where you had teenagers and I had young men, right? And back then in the 90s, there weren't a lot of rules and policies that protected adolescents. So you will have a kid who's acting out, police will come, literally hog-tie them to get them out or to calm them down. And I had that burning desire to represent the kids. So my initial desire was to be a juvenile criminal defense attorney. It ended up being special education law because I realized that part needs to be taken care of so that we can avoid them getting to that point where they're in residential programming or they're encountering law enforcement. So it's been a myriad of things that have propelled me to this point in my life. And now I'm at the stage of my life where I believe that policy and legislation is what guides, because you can knock on the doors as an advocate. Not that we shouldn't stop, because you need a parallel path to get to the end goal. But you need someone like myself in office who has been the advocate and the activist with heart and purpose to be in the elected office to make the laws and the policies and the legislation. Plus, we need to be engaged and involved.
Okay.
And you're only involved and engaged if you see yourself.